It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And you have much better lighting than I do.
I worked on that, actually. All right, so James Van Alstyne, podcaster on Car Con Carne. Or is it Carne? I always say Carne.
Carne.
It is Carne. Okay. Host of local.
See, here's where I went wrong. It's Spanglish. It's equal parts English and Spanish. It's kind of like your name, Jacques. Because really, if you're going for the full French thing, it'd be Jacques LaMore, not Jacques LaMore. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that is so true. I've had so many people get my name wrong. They butcher it on a constant basis. As obviously you shared a picture yesterday of you getting takeout, and they messed up. You know what did it say? Jane Vinopal. Vinopal? I thought it was Vinolto or something like that.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Either way, a whole lifetime of my name being butchered. It's just something I accept. It's something I've let my kids know. This is just the way it's going to be for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Cool. Sorry, I was just sharing this real quick. Okay. So you're also, besides Con Carne, you're host of local music show Demo 312 on 101 WKQX in Chicago. You have been brought up so many times on Pop Punk and Pizza, whether it was your podcast or it was your radio show, Demo 312, because a lot of the bands that...
Yeah, we share a lot of the same bands and Rolodex, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Whether like we've both interviewed the same bands or, played the same music or all that stuff, your name just ends up getting dropped on the podcast a lot. So I thought it would be cool if people hadn't actually gone that step further and been like, oh, I'm going to check out this Car Con Carne podcast, or I'm going to listen to Demo 312 or whatever. If they hadn't had a chance to do that yet, they can learn like who James Van Alstyne is. So that was another reason I wanted to have you on the show.
I appreciate that. Here's the funny thing. Food is part of what you do. Food is part of what I do. There is nary a bite of food to be found on either side of this video streamed interview right now because of the pandemic. Usually I'm eating food in my car. Usually you're eating pizza, which is delicious and the perfect food, but there's no food happening right now.
No. And I have a couple of the quarantine interviews I've done. I've had it where my guest gets pizza and I get pizza, and we'll have it from like a different pizza place and we'll talk about it.
Not the same. It's like phone sex.
Yeah, it kind of is. It really is. Have you done? I haven't seen you do that at all since you've been quarantined.
When I started, I've been doing this in my car for 6 years, and when COVID hit, it was like March 13th or 14th, I decided I would just do it from home every night. When I started, I thought, well, this will be great. I'll have my guest and I kind of share dinner over video. I think that idea lasted for a day or two. Then I'm like, this is too hard to enforce or ask. It's just going to be an interview show for the foreseeable future.
That makes sense because, money and things like that, right?
Exactly.
So that could definitely stack up after a while, especially since you're doing it every night.
Every night, which you tried, right? You went that route for a little bit.
Yeah, I did try that back. Oh, it was a couple years ago. I tried doing it every single day, and man, that is so hard to do. Because I don't know how you do it.
What people don't realize, booking guests is really hard. When you're a one-person show, it is executing the show is one thing. I mean, I'm sure you and I could do this, in our sleep, as long as everything was set up beforehand. But it's the back and forth. It's the last-minute cancellations. It's convincing people to go on a podcast, because there is still that learning curve with people who don't understand the value of podcasting. They're wrong or just oblivious. But there's a lot that goes into just getting a Jacques on the show, or whoever, Broken Robots, or whoever is on the show. There's work behind it.
Right. Yeah. The scheduling part of it is so time consuming, because as you know, I'm sure you've had to reschedule dates with people multiple times, and I've had to do that. And then, you have someone cancel, but let's say you don't have a backup, then it's like, then you're posting online, hey, anyone free for a podcast tonight? And then it's like desperate, like
I've come across as desperate a few times, and I'm okay with it. I was working on a project, and a lot of times I just may not be aware of everything that's going on. I've actually had some great leads just from posting on social media, like, hey, who's up to something?
yeah.
And maybe people who see it aren't necessarily up to something, but they know someone who is. It's been a helpful tool.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. It's been extremely helpful for me. I've run across so many different people that I never thought I would run across before, just from social media. So,
I mean, I've seen
yeah.
you've had lots of national level acts, which I think is super cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and those were like flukes. I didn't think those would happen because they were so early on when I started this podcast. It was kind of like, you know what the heck? I'll try it,
Right.
and I
I feel like,
tried it and I got a response back.
I feel like punk bands get it better than anyone. I mean, this is a DIY born community. They get it. This, in the 90s, it would have been, can you do an interview for my zine? This crowd.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Cause everyone like started their own zines. You're right. Yeah. You're totally right. Yeah. And especially since a lot of the more well-known bands I've had, they are from, they started in the 90s. So they're not necessarily still attached to, major labels and things like that anymore. They're just doing it completely themselves now because they've got a good enough foundation. They don't need, they don't need all that,
We
so.
can argue that no one needs a major label at this point in 2020.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
I mean,
It's almost, I'm not saying it's pointless, but there's so many people that just get fame from TikTok.
you can lose money just fine on your own. You don't need a major label to help you do it.
That is so true. So when we were talking and first setting this up, the last couple of days or better, you've mentioned how you've been hosting, local music shows on the radio since 1995. So how did your radio career start out?
You're sure this isn't boring?
No, I don't think it's boring at all. And in fact, so many people that, like I said, once again, that either listen to this or have been on this show, you play their music on Demo 312, or like I said, with your podcast, Car Carne, man, I can't talk today.
Car Con Carne.
Thank you. It's, you know what? I'm going to say, speaking of messing up the podcast name, people mess up my podcast name all the time because of all the P's, and you have all the C's.
It's exact. Alliteration always works in naming a show. That's like a radio rule.
It really does. But no, I would love to hear your start. And I feel like a lot of people are fascinated to hear these stories.
I mean, I guess it's kind of a typical radio story. And it's funny because a friend of mine, Mark Doyle, just jumped on, and he kind of figures into me doing a local music show. I was working for the old WKQX back in the 1990s when it was Q101. And the woman who was hosting the local music show, Carla, was leaving the market. She took an opportunity on the East Coast. So the show, then called Local Music Showcase, later Local 101, was vacant. None of the full-time disc jockeys wanted it. They weren't interested in doing an hour of local music. I was working as a programming assistant at the radio station. It was my first radio job, 20 hours a week, $5 an hour, for real. I really wanted to do it. I wanted to play cool music, pick my songs, do it on the radio. So I went into the program director and said, I would like to host that show. He said, I have no idea how you sound on the radio. It's like, how you have to prove to me that this would be a good thing for me to do, is hire you to do it. In the back of my head, I knew that no one else wanted the job. Doing a show at like 10 o'clock on a Sunday night isn't the sexiest thing in the world. So the people who are more into being like drive time talent wanted no part of it. So what I did was I went to 3 different local venues and I recorded interviews with bands. I interviewed a band called Loud Lucy at Fireside Bowl. I interviewed Wesley Willis at Lounge Acts, and a band called the Nubile Things at maybe Martyrs. And this is the first time I did interviews with bands. I interviewed them, I chopped them up on reel-to-reel tape, and I put that into a demo with 5-second clips of music, front cells and back cells. I gave it to my boss. He's like, this is great. You've got the show. And
Wow.
I probably put in more work than I needed to, but I really wanted to sell it. And it was fun. It was, as I'm like nervously hanging out to meet these local bands and interview them before their shows, including Wesley Willis, who's his own entity altogether. And that was it. And that was my first on-air job in Chicago. And, things kind of grew from there.
So you were still obviously the program assistant,
Yeah.
and then you had the local 101. Now, were you the one that came up with the local 101 name?
Maybe. I don't remember.
How that came about?
It started as a CD before the show was named that. We were doing a CD project of local music, and we wanted to name the CD that, and we figured it makes sense to change the name of the show to fit the branding of the CD.
Yeah.
I was definitely in those conversations. I don't know if it was me who came up with it, but I was definitely in those conversations.
What did you use to record these interviews?
What's that?
What equipment did you use to record those first interviews you were just talking about?
I don't remember.
It wasn't cassette, was it?
Definitely cassette, now that I think about it. But this is the 90s.
Well, you talked about reel to reel, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, yeah. I dumped it off cassette onto a reel-to-reel and chopped it up from there.
Okay,
but yeah,
gotcha.
portable cassette player, I'd put it in Wesley Willis's face or whatever.
Man, I had one when I was little, and I haven't seen one since. So
cassettes are such an inferior, terrible way of recording and playing music. They're the worst.
What's funny is that there's a guy that works for the company I work for. He still records some of his interviews with a cassette tape. No joke.
Has he seen the smartphone?
He uses a smartphone as well, but he still, to some degree, he uses this tape. But I don't know exactly what it is, but it's, and he's an old school broadcaster, but
clearly,
still. Clearly, yeah. But either way, it just always cracked me up. So you did the interviews, your first interviews. You put this demo tape together for your boss. Now it comes time to be like your first day on the air. So what was that like? I find that any person I talk to and any radio personality I talk to, their first day on the air is usually a good story. Like,
I don't know that it is, because the local music show most of the time was pre-recorded. So I think, yeah. I mean, people always say, don't you do your show live? I'm probably doing 4 minutes total, an hour of talking. Doesn't make sense to do it live. It's not hard if you're just in a studio by yourself and you can make a million takes till you get the one. I mean, it was definitely different when I did my first live show on KQX. It was overnight, and there's something. It's an adrenaline rush when you're ready to go live, and there are potentially tens, hundreds of thousands of people listening, and you just hear the sound of air in your headphones and realize, okay, this is mine to fuck up. Like it is like just climbing to the top of the roller coaster, then going down, and fingers crossed. But no great story, no great comedy of errors, or usually you hear stories about people who play the wrong song, say the wrong thing. It's just, I'm sure. I'm glad I don't have a copy of it. I wouldn't want to listen back to it, but it was what it was.
Yeah. One time I was doing a contest giveaway, and I don't know if it was my very first day on the air, but it was one of my first days on the air. And I was on the phone with this contestant or this listener, getting down their address information and stuff. And somehow I still had the phone like potted up on the air. It was somehow in program.
Uh-huh.
And so their information was getting out over the air, even though I was in a commercial break or I was playing a song or something, but somehow
you ruined a commercial on top of it. That's it.
Right. So one of the sales reps came upstairs to the studio and was like, so how's so-and-so? I hear they live in, this town, and like they knew their address, because that was just their way of telling me that, hey, by the way,
a little passive aggressive.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's like, just so you know, that actually went over the air just now. So what's some advice that you were given like earlier on in your career that still echoes in your mind to this day?
It's a good question, and it's an obvious answer. Be yourself. I never changed my name to be on the radio. I never wanted to be like James Cougar or James Van Zant or whatever.
James Cougar would be good.
Sure.
Van
Be who
Oslo's
you are.
better,
I mean,
though.
the person who you are on the air, on the podcast, needs to be the same person you are when there's no microphone in front of you. I don't do shtick. I'm just who I am. I mean, that's the best advice I could give anyone starting in radio or starting a podcast is be authentic. I mean, now more than ever, people crave authentic voices. And that's it. Another great piece of advice, less about being on the air, but just a great business piece of advice. My program director, Dave, in the late 90s, and again, this seems like elementary stuff, but he always said, take the hit. If you fuck up, if you do something wrong on the air, off the air, own up to it and move on. The people who push back against the problems they cause are the ones who always make things worse. Yeah, you're right. I didn't play that song when I should have, or that interview went longer than it should have. Just take the hit, move on. And that's a good thing for disc jockey program director relations.
That's something that I feel like sometimes I don't remember. I feel like I didn't really think about that. You know, I mean, I've been doing this for 5.5 years.
Me too.
And well, the podcast, right? As you said 6 years actually for the podcast, but obviously radio much longer. I started in radio in 2014, so I'm still like a newbie in this whole thing. But I feel like earlier on I would maybe battle more instead of just like you said, you just own up to it.
Worth the battle. It's like, okay, you're right.
It's not. It really isn't. And I agree. I completely agree with that. So typically on your podcast, you pick a restaurant, you obviously sit in the car with a guest, you eat food.
That's so January, what you're describing. That's so January, February.
Well, I mean,
how I roll now.
Do you have a set date of when you're going to get back to doing that? Or
it's a great question. I think about this every day. I've been thinking about this every day since March. I don't know. I'm going to Gibson City on the 25th of this month, which is downstate, kind of Champaign, Bloomingdale, somewhere in that area.
I was just down there on Saturday. I went to see Harry Potter. So
okay, so you went to the drive-in there, which is where I'm going. Local H is doing 2 nights down there. I'll be out there for the first night. And for the first night, I'll be doing Car Con Carne with Scott before he plays. I don't know how to do it. I really don't. And I'm struggling with this. As of right now, I'm thinking maybe I bring 2 like baseball chairs, you know, that you get at Dick's, put them on either side of the car and, you know, sit 6 feet separated and do it like that. I haven't figured out the video component for that, but I'm not doing it in the car. I can't foresee a time anytime soon where I'd be doing that. So I think out of the car with the car in the background is about as good as I can get it right now. But it's something I'm obsessing about. I don't know how to proceed.
Yeah, because I mean, if you did it in the car, you'd have to wear masks.
There'd have to be like a plexiglass divider between the seats. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be another thing. And
I'm not sharing food.
Right. No. And someone would have to sit in the back.
Uh-huh.
So, and I think from what I heard today is that normally, you know, they've got the concession stands there at the drive-in, but I heard that they're not going to have them open for the local H shows. So they're allowing people to purchase like $20, like a $20 food ticket to bring in their own food.
Yeah.
I think is what I heard. So, and
that's their corking fee.
Yeah, exactly. And they do that for their movies too, but for when they're airing movies, it's only $5 for to bring in your own food. So obviously $5 to $20, you know, they gotta compensate for not having concessions. But yeah, like you said, there's not going to be food involved. So that would be
tough. I wish the solution were easier and something I could hit sooner than where I'm at, but it's just for right now I'm at home.
But at least you're finally getting one out there. Finally, an in-person interview after how many? When was the last one? Beginning of March, right?
It was March 12th. I was at Lagunitas Tap Room. Yeah, it's exciting. I've got to make a 6-hour round trip to do it, but there you
I
go.
was gonna say, because you're
I'm north.
north, yeah. And from me, Gibson City is about an hour. So it's not so bad.
I'll
But
hope that they drive by.
yeah, you're gonna drive by.
Uh-huh.
So that'll be cool. Um, but typically before COVID, it's all about, you always pick a local restaurant, you sit in the car with your guests, you eat the food, and you record the podcast. What I wanted to know is there anything that you will not eat? Is there anything you don't like? Because I've seen you eat so many different things on the podcast.
I'm open to everything. I've a pretty adventuresome palate. I'll try everything. So,
What was one of the things you were surprised that you thought, I am totally not going to like this?
well,
And
keep in mind the food I would usually eat in the car was bar food and hot dogs. I mean, those were like my safe positions. I tend to go low budget and cheap. So it's not like I'm trying tongue or head cheese in the car. It's a pretty traditional fare. It's like, okay, tonight we're going for burgers or we're going for tacos. So there's nothing where I could say you wouldn't believe what I did. It's more about you wouldn't believe the size of what I brought into the car, into my Mazda 3. I shared a 20-inch pizza with Joe from Rise Against. That was difficult to maneuver. My friend Brian, who used to be known as Sludge on the radio, is now known as Brian. We shared like a giant, I can't even describe the size of the steak on a giant cutting board, and we somehow had to eat that across the front seat. It's more about the logistic challenge of the food we bring in more than the shock value of the actual food.
and the performances too. Those were great.
Thank you. Those are fun to do. A lot of what I do on the podcast is stuff that I just can't do on the radio anymore. So one of my favorite things I used to do was live performances on the air. And this is how I do it. I have bands bring in instruments and I try to mic it all up. And sometimes it's a train wreck. Sometimes it's transcendent. I never know what it's going to be. And it's cool. And bands have to figure out how to move the necks of their guitar so they're not hitting each other in the heads with their headstock. It's crazy. And I love it.
Yeah, every performance I've seen in the car is always fantastic. You're like looking at it like, is he really playing like that right now? How is he possibly, picking that song when he's got no room to move his arm?
There are windows rolled down so that instruments could point out the window to provide just a little more space. There was one band, I had a rockabilly band, Them Guilty Aces at Gene and Jude's, and there were so many of them, the harmonica player had to play outside the car and lean in through the open window to play, which was totally great.
You need to have someone film the cars or just people passing by one day. Just a camera just on the people passing by, just to get the reactions on their faces when they're seeing these.
You would think that.
Perform.
No, in the city of Chicago, nothing phases people.
Oh, that's true.
I could be sitting in the front seat with one of those big cartoon spy versus spy bombs, and people would walk right by. Nothing phases people.
Oh, that's normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just another day in Chicago.
Don't look at the ear, just keep walking.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that part, but that makes perfect sense now that you mention it. So, because I'll see weird things when I'm walking the streets sometimes in Chicago, and people are just walking by like it's.
Yeah, I've had less performers in the car. I've had bands perform. Nothing phases anybody.
Yeah. So has anyone? I mean, I think it was with Lucky Boys. Someone hit your car while you were actually doing the podcast. That was
that was Kastube from Lucky Boys and Brad from who's Kastube's bandmate in the Hoodie Life.
Oh, that's right. It was.
We were in Pilsen, and yeah, this guy just misjudged backing into a spot and drove right into my front end. That's real. I mean, that's how you know it's live.
Now, is that's the only time that's actually happened during a podcast, right?
Yes.
And that's pretty good considering, like, at that point you had done probably over 200 or 250 or 300 episodes at that point.
I was pushing 300 at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty good considering, like,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Has anyone ever vomited in your car?
No. I'm not a Lyft driver. I mean, it's just these are bands. We're only together for like an hour. We're not.
Hey, you never know, man, because you get a bad hot dog, you get a bad something, things get weird.
Usually, usually the reaction I think takes longer than that, but no, so far so good. The worst casualty I've experienced is a spilled hot sauce somewhere, or dropped Italian beef.
Okay, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. So if you and I were going out for pizza, where would we go? Like, what's like the first place? And it could be anywhere.
Excellent question. I do, boy. I love Dante's for slices.
That is good. It's like very floppy. It's very New
Oh,
York.
yeah, their special, like their slice of the day or their special slice, which is really good. I do love. I reject this idea that Chicagoans don't really eat deep dish pizza. I love deep dish. I still love Lou's. I still love Pequod's very much. But there is something to be said for a slice and a soda. So I'd probably take you to Dante's.
Yeah, I love Dante. I haven't been to Dante's in years, probably 8 years. So I would love that. All right, so let's get to, since you are on Pop Punk and Pizza podcast, a lot of the pop punk bands that you play on Demo 312, like I said, have been on this podcast and talked about you. And I thought it'd be cool for them to hear, like, what are some of your favorite pop punk or punk oriented albums or songs?
Did Lights Over Bridgeport say anything bad?
No. Why are they supposed to?
Kidding. I saw that Johnny was on.
He was on, yeah. And I'm trying to remember if he was one of the people that he probably did mention it, honestly. But I can't remember because that was back in March and I already forgot. Quarantine is
March. Yeah.
Like, what happened in March? I don't remember. So
you all right? You want to talk about pop punk? You want me to
let's James Van Osdol and pop punk. You are a man of so many different musical genres and backgrounds, especially with the podcast. I mean, you have people from hard rock to jazz to everything in between.
Last month I've had like Non-Point, Ramsey Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like all over the place, which I love.
I believe that's the way most people listen to music. I mean, if you were to look at a playlist on my phone, it would violently jerk from one genre to the next, song to song. I don't listen to just one type of music. I love music, and that's why I got into radio. I wanted to be able to play music for people. It wasn't to hear my voice. It was because I'm into music, and this was a great way to be around it all the time. So as far as pop punk goes, what I did, you challenged me. You said, come up with a list of 5 albums. I also came up with some songs. So I came up with a list of 5 pop punk albums spanning 5 decades.
Oh, nice.
I reject the idea that pop punk started in the 1990s. And with that, I'm going to start with the 1970s. To me, the Ramones are to pop punk what Sabbath is to metal. It all kind of started there. The Ramones wrote these melodic, hooky songs about girls, did it in 3 minutes time with big power chords. So my pick for pop punk album from the 1970s, I think one of the Rosetta Stones is Rocket to Russia from 1978. You've got Sheena as a Punk Rocker, Rockaway Beach, Teenage Lobotomy. Now, to be fair, yes, they sing about girls. They also sing about scoring drugs, and they sing about mentally disabled people. But the groundwork was laid there. In many ways, I think the Ramones are a Rosetta Stone for this genre of pop punk. And you may disagree. I don't know how you define pop punk.
No, I would completely agree with that, because before, like, Green Day did their whole American Idiot thing, and actually from American Idiot on, I guess pre-American Idiot, so many people just said, oh, they're just the Ramones. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of the sounds, a lot of their songs are very comparable to what the Ramones laid out. So I completely agree with that. So,
all right, so let's jump to the 80s. I think the answer that you're supposed to give for the 1980s is Milo Goes to College by the Descendants. That's not my pick.
Yep.
I think my first real exposure to pop punk, and it's punk rock, but we're going to call it pop punk, in the 80s was Screeching Weasel, the album Boogada Boogada Boogada, which is fun to say. Boogada Boogada Boogada. It's not their best album. I think their best album is still a couple years away, but this was one that I connected with. That I remember when I heard I Hate Led Zeppelin by Screeching Weasel for my first time, this is late 80s, And the lyrics, Robert Plant is a slimy fuck, John Bonham, man, he really sucked. And that's punk spirit, just eviscerating the previous generation. Just,
Yes.
yeah, your idols, fuck them. And that to me just connected. And then on that same album, I Want to Be Naked, which, going back to the Ramones, rips off I Want to Be Sedated by the Ramones. And that album just connected. Again, not the best Screeching Weasel album, but that to me was the pop punk album from the 80s.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I feel like 80s as a whole, 80s punk or pop punk, whatever you want to call it, was all about kind of tearing into the generation before and saying fuck them, like you were just
Ed
saying.
Milkman were doing it too. I mean, they're tearing apart your idols.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
So jumping ahead to the 1990s, it's funny, as we were laying the groundwork for this show, I'm like, I don't want to spend too much time talking about local music. I don't want to appear like I'm playing favorites. That said, for the 1990s,
which makes you very professional, but are you about to jump over that? You're about to say screw it?
I'm about to say Born to Quit by the Smoking Popes.
Okay.
Just like Boogada Boogada Boogada, I don't think this is the best Smoking Popes album. I think that was a couple years later with Destination Failure. But Born to Quit just hit all the right notes. This is a fantastic pop punk album. My Lucky Day, Rubella, Gotta Know Right Now, Need You Around. This is a young, very young, scrappy suburban band finding their voice, finding their sound. And the same year that the world was exposed to Dookie, it just, in a parallel universe, Born to Quit would have been as big as Dookie. What a great band, what a great album. And that's what I'm pointing to for the 90s. And I realize I'm not talking about Jawbreaker or any of the other obvious ones, but for me, it was Born to Quit.
I love that you're sticking with Chicago bands even, or just the last two anyway.
I know, and as I sat down to think about it, I'm like, oh, I should really not do this. So let's move to the 2000s. I thought, does AFI count?
Yeah, I mean, so many people are like, well, AFI was sort of pop punk, but a lot of people say they're emo, and they're kind of like a lot of bands in the 2000s had a pop punk, emo, post-hardcore, whatever kind of sounds you want to call them. They kind of all blended in,
Well, I have two choices for the 2000s.
Ooh.
The Art of Drowning by AFI connected with me because I definitely lean more toward the darker stuff. And this was definitely a transition album for them before they became more pop and before you saw more girls at their shows. Days of the Phoenix absolutely struck a chord with me in the year 2000 when it came out. That said, I should mention Alistair. I'm not going to mention Alistair. Great album, Last Stop Suburbia. But sticking with Chicago, Apathy and Exhaustion by Lawrence Arms was a monumental album for me in 2003 or whenever that came out. I still love those songs. Porno and Snuff Films, Your Gravest Words, which is more down tempo. I think it's a fantastic album.
Yeah, you definitely like the darker side, which I feel like is kind of like a Chicago thing. You know what I mean? From even bands from the last decade that have so-called come out of the genre, like Real Friends, they were more on the cusp of a not necessarily darker, but just emotional part. And I feel like that's just like a Chicago staple. I don't know. And I don't know when exactly that started, but I feel like it just continues, All
right. So I'm leaving Chicago for the 2010s.
Okay. Wow. All right. I'm really curious to hear this.
I think it's hard to ignore the Menzingers and After the Party from the past 10 years. That seems to be the album for the genre. Although I am also kind of partial to the self-titled Masked Intruder album, keeping it in the Midwest.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, After the Party is just big power chords, melody for days. I think it's a fantastic album.
Yeah, I agree. And Menzingers really pushed themselves through in the 2010s.
Yeah, for sure.
And
that's 5 albums.
Wow. That's some solid stuff there, man. I'm impressed. You really put some thought into that.
I hate being asked questions like this and not having time to really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be I want it to be honest and true and not just off the cuff.
Yeah, right. And that's you definitely did a good job at thinking all those through. So solid choices, man.
Thank you.
All right, so you've got songs too?
I've got songs. I've got
Okay.
my favorite newish pop punk song is one that people probably won't like. It's Boris the Sprinkler, new album. It's like a 2-minute song. It's called "She Got the Wonk Shicky Shicky Wonk Wonk."
It sounds like it's straight out of the 60s.
It's ludicrous. It's stupid, and it's a total earworm stuck in my head. You know, I saw the Lillingtons a few months ago. It was November, and it made me remember just how fucking good Black Hole in My Mind is, and how that's another song that cannot escape my brain once I put it in there. It's so great. Such a big hook. Love the guitars on that. Another song I'm going to add to my list. Let's go back to the Smoking Popes. You Spoke to Me, which is about Jawbreaker, so it's kind of a Jawbreaker.
There you go. Getting Jawbreaker in there a little bit.
I don't think 88 Fingers Louie counts as pop punk. I always thought of them as straightforward punk.
Yeah.
But I love 100 Proof from them, and I'm representing 88 today.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Now, one thing you may notice in my songs, in songs and picks, I don't lean too hard on the pop side of pop punk.
Yeah.
That said, I can appreciate all day long the pop beauty of Swing Swing by All American Rejects. That to me is a really well constructed pop song. It's beautiful. Love the vocals on that. I think that is a great example of the genre.
There's something about their songwriting or Tyson Ritter, I think. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. He's just so good at portraying that pop, but hooking in that punk influence in there. And I've always loved All American Rejects. So I actually was not expecting that, considering your album choices and the songs you picked before that.
But I realized I didn't have any higher pitched poppy vocalists on my list, so I figured I should throw one in there just to balance things out.
I love it. Was that the last one already?
I've got a couple other ones. What do I want to go with? Does Face to Face count? Because I loved I Won't Lie Down in the 90s.
I mean, a lot of people classify them as skate punk, but I'm a person that everyone's got their own opinion on what something sounds like, so I mean, I Face to Face is in the punk genre, so yeah.
How about same era? Let's go with When I Get Old by Descendants. There we go. So I want
you got to get Descendants in there. It's a must.
Check the Descendants box. So we're good.
Yeah, especially since you brought up Johnny Hamlin from Lights Over Bridgeport. Descendants is like his band. So
yeah. So there, we're good then.
Awesome. Wow. I appreciate you thinking really hard about that and actually throwing in the added effort. So thank you for that. Now, do you remember when you were first introduced to a punk band? Do you remember? What was it? The Ramones?
It probably was the Ramones. It probably was watching National Lampoon's Vacation for my first time and hearing Blitzkrieg Bop as they hit Lakeshore Drive. What is that song?
Yeah, it's just so classic.
But in the 80s, I really became aware of punk rock because of Naked Ray Gun. That was the band. They defined the sound, the style with the black cop coats and the Chicago flag, the whoa, whoa, whoa. That was Chicago to me. And I thought Ray Gun, I still think Ray Gun was cool and dangerous and exciting. And that made me aware of punk rock, at least on a Chicago level.
Were they was that the first punk band you saw in Chicago?
I don't know. I don't think.
You don't remember the first punk show you went to?
Yeah, I don't think Iggy Pop counts because by that point he was too big, but maybe.
But he kind of comes from that
punk
absolutely. Rock, so I mean,
by the time
even if he was big, it still sort of counts, I guess.
By the time I saw Iggy, it was the Blah 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 tour, which was about the least punk rock thing in his entire catalog. Or at least
very true. Yeah, at that point. But okay, so we'll say first more locally based.
We'll say Ray Gun.
Okay. Do you remember how old you were?
It must have been Wasn't a kid. I was probably 19 or 20.
Okay. I've always been fascinated with Fireside Bowl, and what do you remember about Fireside?
What I remember about Fireside is by the time I went there, I was too old to be there. Like I felt I was young at the time, but I felt too old walking in there. It was definitely a younger, I was, probably late 20s when I was going there to see shows. And I definitely felt like, okay, I'm going to hang out in the bar because I feel like it's like Chris Hansen's going to walk in any minute. Like I don't belong in this room. This is weird. I don't know. The bathrooms were terrible. The sound was shitty, but it was a legitimate community. It was a legitimate vibe. What the booking was, if you look back on some of those old show lists, I mean, it's unbelievable the bands that played there. That was a must. That was a must for bands routing through the area. I think it was great. I wish there was something like it. I wish there was something for all ages. It's something I've thought about a lot as my son's gone through high school and he loves music, but there's not a whole lot of stuff that's affordable, let alone all ages, for him to do. I wish there was something like Fireside for kids in the 21st century.
Yeah, I've often think about that, and I don't know what it would take, and I don't know if it's because this generation is not interested, or
It's a
what.
great question, but there's clearly value in that, and there's clearly community out there, and I think it just takes someone with the entrepreneurial spirit to say, okay, we're going to turn this space into this.
Yeah, yeah, it really is going to take someone to actually connect well with the current generation, also figure out what exactly they want, because obviously they're not going to want exactly the Fireside Bowl because that was, a completely different generation, but a version of like a 21st century version of Fireside. So like you were saying, so
yeah,
I forgot what I was going to ask now.
Isn't that the worst?
It is the worst. It happens to me a lot today. I'm having like a very typical Monday today. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, I think Tuesday is the worst day of the week. Monday I can do. Monday,
man, it's I say the same thing. Like Tuesdays are usually my worst. Like Mondays, I'm usually pretty good.
Monday is the first day back into the swing of things. You got that adrenaline rush of, okay, let's do this. New week. Wednesday, oh, you're halfway there. Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. Tuesday's just kind of miserable.
Yeah.
You have so long to go before the week is over.
Mm-hmm. When Tuesday rolls around, I'm like, oh, I got to do this shit again. Like Monday, like you said, I feel good. I feel refreshed.
Exactly.
When Tuesday rolls around and I'm just like, man, like I just can't, I don't know if I can do this today.
I mean,
so
with 2 for Tuesday, it's not as great as it could be.
No, I completely agree. When I first had heard your name, I did not realize that you were the first host of Local 101, because when I was growing up, it was Chris Payne. So it was actually Drew Neely who was the one that was like, it's like, yeah, James Van Osdol, he was the one that did Local 101, and he used to, or there were shows at Metro that used to throw, right? He used to talk about those shows.
He would do Lodo shows at Metro every week, all local bands. And Metro would book him. I'd come out and host him. Those were great times.
Yeah, I think what sparked it is he showed me a video from one of those shows, and it was insane how filled the place was for a local showcase.
Depending on the week. I mean, what I do appreciate from that period is we had the radio station support. Like the radio station talked about these shows every Wednesday for $5. I think it's $5. See 4 bands, and there'd be one mid to upper range local band headline, and maybe it was Not Rebecca one week, or I don't even know, but it was cool, and there was momentum. It was a series that had a brand that was developed over time, and it worked. I really, those were great times.
It would be cool to get something like that back if things ever with
Agreed.
COVID,
Agreed.
It would just be, I feel like we need more things like that in the scene again. So to speak, I finally just started reading the oral history you did on the original Q101, and I'm like way behind because like I think I discovered it like 3 years ago. Now I'm finally just like starting to get into it.
I don't want to spoil the ending, but the station goes away.
It does? Oh no, it doesn't, because I can't tell you how many people are still calling it Q101, and I
Oh,
correct them all the time. I'm like, no. It might seem like it could be the same. It's the same, frequency, but
same call
it's
letters. I get it.
same call. Yeah. Well, the call letters are a little different, aren't
They're
they?
percent the same. WKQX.
It wasn't.
Nope.
I thought
Trust me.
really. I always thought the call letters were a little different, like just slightly for 1011 back in the 90s.
Nope.
No. Well, I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the book. So,
As a radio person, I think you'll appreciate it.
yeah, what are some of the? I mean, you've had so many different stops at so many different stations over the years. So I know you've got to have some interesting stories to share.
I don't know. Whatever stories there are probably in that book. I mean, you and I have both arrived at radio or in radio after the insanity, the insane years, the cocaine and hookers years. So I didn't really see much, or I was never around that much craziness. I mean, yes, when Mancow came to KQX back in the day, it was not unusual to see full frontal nudity walking into the office in the morning. That was different. I mean, people who walk into a job at Bank of America have a different experience, perhaps. But
I don't think so.
yeah,
I think it's about the same, isn't it?
maybe. So I don't know if I have any of those crazy stories. It was a lot of fun. But the stories I shared in the book are really other people's stories. I was very careful, and I say this in the beginning of the book, very careful to not make it about me or not insert myself into the book. I wanted to stay kind of neutral as you can be as a storyteller. I just wanted to frame everything and not over force my hand.
Do you have any other books in the works currently on
No,
any other subjects?
I do love writing. I really, really do, and I wish I had more time to do it. I wrote a couple years after that, maybe 2 years ago now. I wrote a very short, like 50-page Kindle-only book about the job search in the modern day and work, just how difficult it is to find and hold a job in the 21st century. Because I had jobs post-radio that were traumatizing to the point of leaving me like scarred with PTSD. They were so shitty.
So what was a job that you did after? Was that after your original run at KQX that you?
Yeah, I mean, my LinkedIn profile is a little lengthier than I'd prefer, but so I worked at KQX from 93 to 2000, December of 2000. From there, I went to XRT for a year. And then after that, I went to a station called the Zone, WZZN, for 5 years. And then after that, I worked in the digital department of Emis, which is the company that used to own KQX and The Loop. Worked there for 5 years. Then I worked for a restaurant replacement parts company in Addison called Partstown. The name sounds made up, but that's the name of the company.
Partstown.
Worked there for a year and did a lot of part-time stuff. It's just the long story short is it's really hard to find work, and it's harder, especially if you only have broadcasting on your resume. It definitely, it's hard for. The great thing about radio, and what I've always loved about radio, is it's an industry, it's a business that favors unicorns, people who can do a lot of different stuff. So you can walk in one day, today I need to work on audio production, I'm going to do an interview, I'm going to help promotions with, a brainstorming meeting. Every day is different. The rest of the world doesn't work like that. The rest of the world wants you to do one thing, and that's all you do. So when you're approaching a job or an employer with a radio resume, it's really hard for them to understand how you did all this stuff, but now you're just going to focus on this one thing and how that translates. It's not a direct comparison, and it's a salesmanship job once you get the interview to explain, no, I'm not really just that guy. I'm this guy too, and I can do this one thing, and just put me in the cubicle and leave me to do my one task, and I'll be great at it. It's very difficult.
Yeah, I would imagine, because radio anymore, because you've kind of grown up in that period when you started out in 93, even probably to 2000. there was so much change, probably even in just that 7 years because of the internet
Oh, absolutely.
and
Yeah,
having.
I was
Sorry, go ahead.
I was the first webmaster of WKQX back in the day. I didn't know how to code or anything. It was just more of a content gig. But
Yeah.
I remember when we launched our first website, which came after our own AOL keyword, which was very sexy.
AOL keyword.
Uh-huh.
What was the AOL keyword?
Q101.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what, and now actually your job, I mean, you obviously do demo 312, but you actually you're the content manager. I don't know the specific title. I forgot when I looked it up.
It changes depending on who you ask in the building. I do digital content.
Okay, I was going to say it's digital content. So you just provide stuff to post on the website, or
digital covers a lot of things. And again, this is why I like radio. It changes day by day. Digital can mean SMS marketing one day, or email, or social media, or web content. It depends on the day, what the needs are. And what has been exciting, a fortunate byproduct of sheltering in place is needing to kind of find a way through COVID-19 digitally. What do you do? And this is a topic, I mean, not just in the workplace, but this is something I talk about on my podcast a lot with musicians and other creatives. How do you navigate through this? How do you create around this? Because you can't wait for the world to return to normal. I don't know that that's something that will ever happen. So how do you, as an artist or a creative, innovate around this? And it's a big challenge, and it's not a question that has easy answers, but what can be done to find a new way? And it's a question I throw at bands. It's a question I throw of anyone. Podcasters, I mean, you're doing it from home, clearly. You're very well.
I'm in my bedroom.
Very well lit bedroom.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lamp here. I've got a lamp up above me, and then there's my fan over there. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I was well lit for you.
Every day I look at these and think I need to do something about lighting, and then I forget about it till the next time I record and think I need to do something about lighting.
Yep, it's that thing, having that radio brain, But anymore, video is so intertwined with radio.
Well, it is, but also I think the universe is more forgiving of raw content. I mean, video from home doesn't need to be super HD, lights everywhere, really thought out presentation. Are you delivering authentic, good content? Okay, that's the most important thing. The rest of the stuff, it'd be great if that were good too, but people just want to connect with content. And I don't think you need to have the production values of Disney to convey that.
No, definitely not. I know one thing that I learned in broadcasting school was even the video guys always talked about how important your audio was. They sometimes made it sound like the audio was more important than the video, because they would always talk about, now you might be all worried about your shot, but if you've got shitty audio, your video is ruined. It's shit,
It's true.
They would always.
Oh my God, don't we sound good right now?
Don't we? We both have these nice professional setups here, sounding nice and crisp. So this is very nice. And did you end up getting the L8 or the
Jacques?
You did. There it is. Wow. How do you like it so far?
I like it very much. It was between this and the Rodecaster, which was about $200 more.
Yeah, but they do a lot of the same things from what I keep reading.
To me, it's the difference between an iPhone and an Android. By the way, Android.
iPhone.
The Rodecaster is very much a plug and play, but there were certain things about the L8 that I really liked, one of which, 2 more mic inputs, which, if I'm recording a band in my car, I would love to have the opportunity to plug in 2 more mics. Also, battery power, because what I do is portable most of the time. I don't want to have to worry about a power source. I want to know that, okay, I've got 4 AA batteries. I'm good for the next couple hours.
Right.
Those were 2 of the big deciding factors. And also, if I don't have to spend $200 more than otherwise, I don't want to. Everyone's tight right now. I don't want to spend that extra money.
Yeah, and I know the L8 even still has the tiny little pads you can hit if you
Yeah.
want to do like a sound effect
It
or
doesn't work for what we're doing right now
uh-huh.
because the pre-programmed pads, which would be where you play music beds or drops, they share channels with the USB input.
Okay. Gotcha. So that's maybe a bit of a downside, but it just
I don't
it just depends on
literally it's me just playing Josh Caterer's voice for the theme song. I'll add that.
yeah.
To yes, it's fine.
Yeah. Right. It's not a big deal. You can just add that in later. You
Yeah.
know? So awesome. Oh, I was going to ask you about guitar though. I've been wanting to know how that's going. I know you said that was that's been like one of your things besides, doing Car Con Carne every day.
Yeah, I mean,
Learning guitar.
I realize that I get bored and antsy if I don't have stuff to do. And I wanted to give myself purpose when we started sheltering in place. So I moved my podcast to nightly. I'm like, okay, this will give me something to do. This will give me structure, a minimum of 5 nights a week. And I thought that was a great idea. Then I thought I should do something that's a little more educational. So I've always wanted to learn how to play guitar. So beginning of April, I got myself an acoustic Fender, and I've been taking the Fender play classes every night. I've been practicing 15 to 30 minutes a day. I'm as good as you'd expect after 2 months, but I'm aware that I'm making progress. It's nothing I'm ready to share with the world, but I'm aware that I'm getting better just by doing it every day. And it's hard. I mean, my fingers are calloused, so I've got that to show for myself. But
that's good.
Absolutely.
At least you've got that built up.
But it's been a lot of fun. And in my head, I think I had it as being harder than it is to learn. It's just like with anything, you just got to do it every day. And so I'm having a blast doing it.
That's my problem, is getting in that routine of doing 15 minutes or however many minutes a day. I still can't get myself to do it. I mean, I play, but I'm not getting any better because I'm not playing every day, So
Yay me, I'm doing my podcast every night. Yay me, I'm learning guitar. I realize that's the way I'm handling things. I also think it's okay if people aren't doing shit during this. I realize this is such a weird time of this shared collective trauma. People shouldn't feel bad if they're not being productive. It's just a weird, strange, awful time, and it's scary and uncertain. If you want to, go through Netflix for hours on end, great. I think all bets are off. Everything's fair. If you want a day drink, sure, that's fine too.
Just because everyone deals with it differently.
Yeah, that's it. There's no set way you should deal with it, other than don't be self-destructive or harmful to others. Those
obviously
are the guidelines.
Yeah, right. Those are the obvious things. You don't want to do that. So, but it's been great talking to you, James, and I really appreciate this because I've looked up to you, obviously, you being a veteran in Chicago media, and I've still kind of starting out in this business. It really means a lot that you took some time with me today to just talk about talk about the podcast, talk about your favorite pop punk albums, and how things are going during COVID. But I'm glad that you're finally going to be doing an in-person interview. I bet that's going to be weird driving all the way to Gibson City for you, man. You're going to be like, what's going on right now? I'm going somewhere.
Yeah, just hit 57 and keep going.
Yeah, pretty much. You're going to go to 57 and then get on like 50, get off at 54. That's not the exit number. That's just the name of the road. And then I can't remember. I think you're on 54 for a while. And I can't remember from there. Cause obviously I was just there on Saturday, but I've been there, I don't know, probably 5 times in the last 10 years to that drive-in. And it's pretty cool. I don't know if you've been out there, but
no, I haven't. And it's one of those things. I know getting there will be awesome. I'll play my music on Bluetooth. It'll be great. It'll be fun. Look at this. I'm going on an adventure for the first time in months. Going home's going to suck.
Yes, it always says, even an hour away, because it's already late at night because the movie doesn't start until late.
Right, until it's dark out.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same for the show. So, and yeah, you drive home and you're literally in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're going to be you already know you're going to be passing towns that have 200 people in them,
Uh-huh.
So, so I mean, and the thing that I got scared about on the way home was hitting a deer, maybe, like you got to watch out for the deer. I actually saw some foxes on my way to the theater. I did see a deer on the way home too, but luckily it was far enough away that I didn't have to worry about it, confronting my car. But just so look out for
There will be
for
some
that.
Monster energy drink in a cooler
Yeah.
to co-pilot me back.
Yeah, definitely. So is there anything else you have coming up that you want to talk about, or plug all your socials and stuff like that too?
Thanks. Well, as far as what's coming up, I thought I'd stay home for a while.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, what else are you gonna do? I mean,
That's all we're doing. I mean, I'm going to stay home for a little bit. Socials, Car Con Carne on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, carconcarne.com. That's where you find it.
okay. And then if there's, as far as Demo 312, if there's a band in the city that's never submitted music to you before, how do they do that?
101wkqx.com/demo312. There's a submission form. I will encourage you to send links to downloads. The worst thing I get is Spotify links. I can't play those on the radio. Send me your music so I can actually turn around and play the next week.
Is it usually Dropbox or something like that you prefer?
Dropbox,
or
Drive, whatever.
Yeah.
Any of those cloud-based platforms.
Yeah, Waves, MP3s.
Waves only.
Waves only. Okay.
Yeah,
that's good to know.
Yeah, they sound better on the air than MP3.
Oh yeah. Oh, so much better than an MP3. I completely agree. And then I think that's pretty much it. So I was just trying to make sure we cover the bases. So what's up?
Let's kill the Facebook Live. Thank you everybody for watching in the middle of the afternoon.
Yes, thank you.
And Mike Weinberg, who cuts my hair and does a fine job, says, I just lost it. He wanted to know if I was talking about the Popes. Yes, Born to Quit, 1994.
That's right.
Rubella. Need you around. Anyone else? That was an amazing Lawrence Arms album. I agree. Apathy and Exhaustion. Tom says, hi, James. Dan DeBoard says, great interview. Thank you, Dan.
Well, thank you.
Tyler Wildy from Epic Deli says, hey, guys. Jimmy Costanzo of Cap Gun Heroes says, what's up, guys?
Oh, yeah. Jimmy's a good guy. We didn't talk about your sandwich. Right? Is that at Epic Deli? Right? Was it Epic Deli? Yeah.
There have been two sandwiches. There was the JVO, which was open-faced. It was like a pork explosion, like pork belly and bacon.
Oh, my God.
Open-faced on cornbread.
That sounds amazing.
Also, it was so good. And there was also a limited Car Con Carne special burger. I forgot what all was on that, but we did.
Wasn't there an egg on it, maybe? Or am I making that up? 'Cause I remember that one.
I don't remember.
Like, I remember it being a thing, but I don't remember exactly. The only thing I thought maybe was on it was an egg, but I can't.
My goal this week, I have some downtime this week. My goal is to visit Epic Deli and rekindle my love affair with Tyler Wildy.
There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, let's kill the Facebook Live. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm James. That's Jacques. And we're out.
Cool.